Hi everyone, our names are Erin, Michelle, and Alexa, and we will be covering part 2 of our proposal in this presentation, which details the methods components of our study. So let's begin with the research design. Our study aims to collect data about the barriers and facilitators associated with choosing to disclose or not disclose childhood sexual abuse among emerging adults. We decided that we wanted to utilize a mixed methods design because we will not prioritize one form of data collection over the other. Both qualitative and quantitative data will be useful for our study, and we will consider them both equally. We also want to use a longitudinal design because we believe this will benefit our study in a few ways. First, we may be able to observe potential changes throughout time that influence whether an emerging adult decides to disclose their experience of childhood sexual abuse or keep it to themselves. This type of design may also help us gain insight into the disclosure process as a whole and how it develops across the emerging adulthood stage.
Now let's move on to our sample. Our initial population will be approximately 297,482 emerging adults between the ages of 18 and 24 who are students in public colleges throughout New Jersey. The sample will be significantly smaller and it will include individuals who respond to the initial survey we provide. The sample may come out to approximately 2,970 participants, as we believe that around 1% of individuals will respond to the survey. We will attempt to stratify our population and reduce the number of participants to a more manageable number, and we will do this by collecting demographic information on participants' race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, and other aspects of their identity. Because childhood sexual abuse is such a sensitive topic, some emerging adults may not be comfortable disclosing in our survey. Therefore, we will need to use convenience sampling. 100 participants will be randomly selected and invited to participate in the interview phase of the study.
Data collection methods and measurement instruments. Our study will begin with a sample survey which will use the following: a Likert scale design, multiple choice questions, and open-ended questions. The survey will ask questions related to participants' demographics, CSA background, support systems, barriers and facilitators to their disclosure, and so forth. We will gather both quantitative and qualitative data from our initial survey. The second phase of our study is the interview or therapy stage, where a subgroup of participants will get a chance to discuss this topic further. Qualitative data and learnings will be gathered during this phase of the study as well. Procedures. We will begin with phase 1, which is the advertising of the study, where we will advertise the study to students via social media, posters around campus, college counseling centers, professor announcements, and email blasts. Phase 2 is the initial survey, where students will be asked to complete a survey we have specifically designed for the purpose of this study. Phase 3 is the interview or therapy phase, where 100 participants will be selected to be interviewed once a semester with the therapist on the research team. And Phase 4 is the data collection and analysis phase. From here, the data collected will be organized, sorted through, and analyzed using descriptive and inferential statistics to draw our findings. Internal and external validity of the study. There are some concerns with convenience sampling, as this method may lead to findings that are not necessarily representative of the entire population being studied. Results may not be applicable when regarding all 18 to 24-year-olds across the nation. This is because we are specifically studying those in college in the state of New Jersey, and of course there are differences that will occur between state to state, SES status, among many other factors. That being said, there is a need for other studies to replicate this similar study structure and study the demographic at hand or in question to make sure that the results and the findings we draw from this study are both valid and can be used in the future.
To analyze our data, we will use descriptive statistics, qualitative data analysis, and inferential statistics. Qualitative responses will be numerically coded to enable statistical analyses. For example, facilitators to CSA disclosure could be coded as follows: perceived social support 1, being asked about CSA 2, exposure to educational materials 3, and so on. Once data is scored, coded, and tabulated, some useful descriptive statistics to calculate will be frequency, which will allow us to describe our sample and to determine how closely it resembles our population. Mode will identify details such as the most frequently reported CSA disclosure facilitators and barriers. Calculating variance will enable us to determine correlation among variables, and correlation will illustrate relationships between variables such as age and disclosure status or gender and reported disclosure facilitator. In our interviews, we anticipate a high volume of qualitative data. We will use thematic qualitative analysis to identify themes and patterns and to guide future interviews. Finally, inferential statistics will allow us to determine if our findings from our sample can be reasonably extended to our population. To ensure an ethically conducted study, participant information will be kept confidential. Informed consent will be obtained. We will communicate that participation in the study is voluntary and participants can withdraw at any time. And due to the sensitive nature of the topic of our study, the well-being of participants will be protected by connecting them with available mental health resources and supports. Because we are using convenience sampling, participant self-selection may play a role in our study's findings. It is possible that our sample will not be fully representative of our population, making us unable to determine and describe population parameters. Cultural considerations may influence willingness to participate or to disclose or discuss CSA experiences. These are our references. Thank you very much for listening.